Well, folks, looks like hiring was softer than expected in 2025 with 143,000 job additions. This indicated a slight deceleration in job growth, but not everything as it seems, especially as we look back at 2024. So what's really going on with the job market? If you are being affected, how can you make a pivot right now? All right, we're going to give you the lowdown in 1 second, but letting you know that this is our Let's Eat Grandma Career Warrior podcast. This is our February leg update where we give you a leg up in your career by giving you the news as well as some things that you can do as we consider what's going on in the job market. My name is Chris Villanueva. I founded Let's Eat Grandma resume service. If you are looking to boost your resume, LinkedIn profile, anything needed in your job search, head on over to let'seatgrandma.com and check out our stuff. All right. So it's a strange job market right now because we've seen 4 years of really secure jobs for the people that have them. The layoff rates have been at lows in general, although we saw a lot of this come up in 2023. It was very scary, but things are rather stable given everything that's going on. But the issue right now is it's a little bit harder. Maybe a little bit is an understatement there, or a lot. But it's harder for people to find a job for those who are either quitting or people who don't have jobs right now. January was interesting. So looking at the most recent data that was published by the Bureau of Labor Statistics, we saw that non-farm payroll, this is most of you guys, that rose by 143,000 in January. We expected that to be 175,000. I saw professional and business services took a little bit of a hit versus last year in which it reported some serious growth. However, the interesting thing worth noting is that the numbers for December and November were revised up. This was higher than expected. This was December revising upward of 51,000. In November was revised up 49,000. So November hitting at 261K and December revising upward to 307,000 job additions here. So this is pretty crazy in my opinion because you would expect January to see a much higher surge as we normally do. However, November and December took that. And this basically goes along with what I have been saying the entire time ever since 2018, and that just because it's a particular time of year, maybe it's the holiday period and you want to apply for jobs, or maybe it's January, still apply to jobs with the same consistency that you would have otherwise, because if you don't, then you might miss out on some good opportunities here. You really don't know what a particular month is going to look like in the future. You don't have a crystal ball. So if you need a job, don't wait to apply for that job. Keep consistently doing it and it will work out. I know that my wife was applying for jobs around the same time. And she even noted like, oh my gosh, I'm having a harder time. However, the lead that eventually turned into an offer picked her up in December. And that's when she reached out. That's when she got the offer and she started back in January. So again, I know we're in January, February, March, Q1 right now, but the principles hold the same. Continue to apply for jobs. Don't look at what's going on in the news, what you think it's going to be in the future. Apply for that job now with the same tenacity. I believe in you. So in January of 2024, there were some differences compared to this year in what we saw. When you look at January 2024, the number of job additions is currently set to 119,000. So currently lower than what we saw this past month. But when that report originally came out, it reported 353,000 job additions. So I don't know how the heck these numbers are tabulated, but that is a massive difference. And so that was a common theme from January all the way up until the end of last year, in which there were numbers getting revised down and there were much less jobs being added than we originally thought. So that is really interesting. There even are in my opinion, is going to cause a lot of confusion. You can even type in job search additions confusion. And I just think that it's a really messy and complicated time right now. So according to SHRM, this average pales in comparison to the overheated conditions that characterized much of the pandemic era, but it is still quite healthy by historical standards. And I agree, this is a healthy time. There's no so-called crash. The economy looks healthy. It looks okay. But there is just something going on with the job market right now. And we can certainly feel that when we contrast it to 2022. Now, layoffs, and this is another healthy indicator of how things are going, layoffs continue to remain low, but so does the job switching. So there's been a notable decrease in people changing jobs, maybe because they're afraid of layoffs or because of how we feel like the job market is right now. So in 2024, 39 million individuals quit their positions, 39.6 million, marking an 11% drop from 2023 and a 22% decrease from its peak in 2022. So this suggests a stabilization in the labor market. I know it's really rough when we compare to what happened a few years ago. Things are looking stable, although fewer workers are seeking opportunities. This comes from Empower.com. We saw in January 2025, we saw that average hourly earnings grew 4.1%. So there was a 2-year decline, again, from that era of the Great Resignation. And we saw our hourly earnings begin to increase since the second half of 2024. So this, again, looks promising. I think, in my opinion, things are okay, not a bad start. This is a modest pace compared to past years, and we were disappointed by January. But I think that things are going to be okay. And again, keep applying for those jobs because you eventually are going to get something, especially if you're listening to this podcast. All right, so let's look at some different industries and compare where there were some significant gains and where some industries may have struggled recently. So healthcare and social assistance, of course, these are stable industries. And this one almost doubled second place. So we saw 66,000 jobs added. That was a big growth when you compare it to the other ones. Retail trade was in second place, followed by government positions. The biggest losers, unfortunately, were mining, followed by food services, and then administrative and support services saw the biggest loss. So no matter where you are, whatever type of position you're applying for, maybe it's time for a pivot. Maybe it's not time. Maybe you want to continue forging the path forward within your industry because you're passionate about it. But it might be worth exploring if you are seeing like you're not getting success by applying for a particular job in a particular industry and looking to open up your sights for other industries. Again, these are just soft recommendations. I'm just reporting the data and giving you what might be helpful. All right, we also saw the concept of DEI is currently being redefined. Obviously, we have a completely new administration in office right now. This is not a political office. Not a political podcast. I am not standing here trying to preach one sort of agenda. I've always been rather moderate in my views and gone all around. In fact, I make friends with all sorts of political ideologues out there. I'm just basically trying to report what I see. But according to recent news reports, companies are following the federal government's lead to pull back on diversity, equity, inclusion initiatives. These are companies like PBS and also Goldman Sachs as well. There were certain initiatives that I think became really strong during the Biden administration, and they are clearly companies that are going to be pulling back because the Trump administration is intentionally trying to cut back on those. Again, I'm not trying to push anything in particular. I'm reporting what I see, but if you are a job seeker within DEI, there's two different things you can do now. Obviously, number one, you can continue pursuing the same sort of positions and continuing to grow in whatever you've been doing. I know we've had some customers who have been applying for those types of positions. Or the other thing you can do is still lead forth with your mission and what you're trying to do within the realm of diversity here, but pivot to other roles. Some other examples here might be HR or people operations roles, things like talent acquisition, HR business partner, employee experience manager. Maybe you will apply within learning and development. There are other, heart-minded positions, for lack of a better phrase there, that might suit you as well. Things such as corporate social responsibility manager, ESG specialist, or maybe even applying within compliance, ethics, and risk management for EEO compliance officer positions or ethics and compliance manager positions. The thing that I want to do, again, is giving you that positivity here and the world of opportunity, continuing to focus on the positive versus, oh, this is the crazy stuff that's happening in the news, therefore I should be fearful. Another fearful, scary thing you might be seeing in the news as well is the impact in automation and AI on IT jobs. Again, shout out to our IT folks, our IT clients at Let's Eat Grandma. That is a pretty big chunk of you. You'll see in the news that the IT sector experienced a rise in unemployment to 5.7% in January, up from 3.9% in December. This is being attributed, again, attribution can come from all sorts of different things. It's not a complete science yet, we don't know, but this increase is currently being attributed to the growing influence of automation and artificial intelligence, which is reducing demand for certain IT roles. Major tech companies have announced layoffs, contributing to the sector's employment challenges. Now, if you are in IT, this does not mean that your skill set is not valued. This is just due to, I think, a lot of the changes that are going on. People are experimenting with things. AI hasn't been fully adopted by any means by companies out there, but we are seeing some interesting things and some shifts. You can still continue applying for the positions that you've been in. Say, for example, you are a software developer or a manager, IT manager. You can continue applying, or you can open up the types of positions you were applying for. Here are some ideas of roles you can apply for despite the changes that we're seeing right now in AI. There are those AI positions themselves. There's AI ethics and governance. There's machine learning engineer positions. There's AI prompt engineer. So as AI adoption grows, companies are going to need people to refine and optimize AI generated outputs because of all the things that you know right now. Cybersecurity and risk management is huge right now. And I'm seeing a lot of people apply to those roles right now. Cybersecurity analyst positions, for example, will work to secure threats as we see automation and AI entering right now. So this is going to be a stable career moving forward, as well as penetration tester, governance, risk, and compliance analyst positions, and other sort of positions like that. You may want to consider applying for cloud or DevOps positions such as cloud engineer or a DevOps engineer. As AI automates deployments, companies still need experts to manage and optimize DevOps pipelines. So there is a world of opportunity out there for you. And I encourage you, no matter what your situation looks like, maybe you just started in your job search and you're optimistic and excited, or you've been going at it for over a year now, I would encourage you to keep moving, keep putting one step in front of the other, and know that you have something great in front of you here. So this was the news. Again, 143,000, not as great as I thought. I would have guessed much higher than that, but the market is still okay right now, and things are still solid. I will report to you if the news headlines say otherwise, but I encourage you to check out our next podcast. We're going to be doing a Q&A for questions that you submit for your resume. So you can submit your resume into us at letseatgrandma.com. And if you so choose, we can actually give you a breakdown and answer questions about your resume here. So you'll hear some really tactical and actionable tips next week. All right. Thank you so much for tuning in. This is the Career Warrior Podcast. Can't wait to see you next time. There are 30 possible resume mistakes stopping you from landing interviews. And please, whatever you do, don't submit your resume to another bot who won't listen. As a top resume service, we've helped thousands of job seekers. And with our expert eye, Let's Eat Grandma will transform your resume into a job-winning masterpiece. Don't wait. Submit your resume to Let's Eat Grandma now for a free critique.